If you ever want to know the exact moment your marriage starts dying, it's not when someone cheats. It's way before that. When your wife stops saying thank you for fixing the sink and starts looking at you like you're the dishwasher repairman. That's where it started with Mary. Not in some dramatic fight or teary confession. Just a long, slow fade, like a bad radio signal on a road trip you didn't sign up for. I'm James Langley. I'm 42. I build custom garage cabinets and high-end storage for rich people who think clutter is a personality trait. Been doing it 20 years. You'd be amazed how many marriages I've watched unravel over whether to use chrome or matte black drawer handles. There's a kind of intimacy in people's garages. They store all the junk they're too sentimental to throw away but too ashamed to keep in the house. That's how I felt in my own marriage, like something stashed behind the seasonal decorations. Mary and I met in line at a DMV of all places. She was the only one laughing in a sea of existential dread, and I figured anyone who could joke about bureaucratic hell was either a saint or completely unhinged. Turns out she was a little of both. She worked in early childhood education. Kids loved her. I did too. We got married within the year, bought a modest house in Hendersonville, and for a while, it felt like we were one of those couples that just worked. You know, low maintenance, mostly smiles, inside jokes during long drives, the usual sweet stuff that makes people nauseous. Then came the drought, not of love exactly, but of attention. Mary started taking evening courses, said she wanted to shift into administration, maybe run her own preschool. I was all for it. Cheered her on. Packed her lunches. But then the texts during the day slowed down. The inside jokes stopped being funny to her. She got this way of nodding through my stories like she was waiting for them to end, not listening to a word. I used to come home and be greeted with a kiss. Now it was just the sound of her laptop slapping shut. You'd think I would have brought it up, like any grown adult. But here's the truth most people won't admit. When the distance starts creeping in, you don't call it out. You rationalize. You explain it away. You tell yourself it's just a phase. Maybe she's tired. Maybe you're tired. Maybe this is what normal looks like at year 9. You don't start a fight over vibes. One weekend in early April, Mary said she was going to a teacher leadership retreat in Asheville. I offered to drive her. She laughed like I was being sweet, but there was an edge to it, like I'd just suggested tagging along to a bachelorette party. It's just the girls, she said. Trust me, you'd be bored out of your mind. She kissed my cheek, not my lips, and left with a bag twice the size she usually packed. That Sunday, I found myself reorganizing our own garage. I didn't plan to. I was just out there staring at the mess. Something about the quiet in that space made me feel closer to her. That's ridiculous, right? Feeling close to someone because their bike helmet still has their name sharpened on it? But that's what we do when things slip. We look for ghosts in the laundry. That week, something shifted in me. I started paying attention. Not in the paranoid way. Just tuned in. Little things. Her work tote had a different brand logo on it than the one from her school. She said she grabbed a new one at the retreat, but it still had a price tag tucked into the side pocket. New perfume bottles appeared on the bathroom counter. Nothing wrong with that, except Mary was allergic to most fragrances. I asked her about it. She said it was a gift from a parent at school. That's when I started writing stuff down. Not out of suspicion, really. More like a gut check. Dates, odd moments, things that felt off. And then came the dry cleaner incident. Wednesday. She'd left in a hurry, said she was late to a meeting and asked if I could pick up her dress from Colonial Cleaners. I went, gave them her ticket, and the guy behind the counter said, "Oh yeah, she already picked that up Monday." I didn't tell her I went. I just nodded that night when she asked if I'd remembered. She didn't even wait for my answer. Just went back to typing on her phone. Maybe you think that was the moment I should have known. That the lie was obvious. But no. You know what I thought? That I'd messed up. That I forgot. That maybe she was right and I'm just getting forgetful. It's not denial. It's self-doubt wearing a flannel. And yet, some part of me was awake. Quietly. Watching. I didn't go full private investigator. I didn't clone her phone or follow her around like a Lifetime movie husband. I just listened more. Paid closer attention. Something was wrong, but it hadn't revealed itself yet. It was there, just under the surface, like a splinter you can't quite see but feel every time you move the wrong way. The kicker? I still loved her. That's the part people don't get. It doesn't go away just because the signals change. You don't flip a switch and turn off 10 years. You cling. You wait. You try to be better, hoping they'll notice. You hope that maybe the retreat was a real retreat. That maybe the tension is just stress. That maybe you're just imagining it. But even then, I knew deep down I wasn't imagining anything. And when the truth finally came out, it didn't explode. It slithered in. Quiet. Cold. Calculated. Like her smile when she said she'd be home late again. And the way I found out? Let's just say it wasn't through any of the usual channels. No lipstick on the collar. No flirty text on her phone. No perfume I didn't recognize. No, it was something else. And it made everything click. And once it knew, oh, I moved fast. Because love might make you stupid, but betrayal? That'll wake you up real quick. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't knock. It doesn't call ahead. It just walks in, makes itself comfortable, and dares you to notice. Which is exactly how it happened. It was a Tuesday. Hot, sticky Tennessee kind of day, where the air feels like soup and everybody's in a bad mood. I had the garage door to my shop wide open, trying to catch a breeze that didn't exist, halfway through finishing a set of maple cabinets for a dentist in Franklin. Music playing low, sawdust floating in the sunlight, everything business as usual. That's when he walked in. Now, I meet a lot of guys. Husbands who want man caves. Retirees looking to organize their fishing gear. Every now and then, some hotshot real estate guy with a Bluetooth in his ear. But this guy was none of those. He looked out of place. Not because he didn't belong there, but because he was too familiar. He wore a tucked-in golf polo like he'd never done a day of physical work in his life. Good hair. That expensive kind of relaxed look, like he just came from a lunch where people talk in percentages. And then there was the face. I'd seen it before. Not in person, but on Mary's laptop, a few weeks back. She'd left a Zoom tab open one evening when I walked past. She was closing it fast, sure, but not before I caught a glimpse of some school district meeting in session. His name had been at the bottom, Ryan Ellison. He was the keynote speaker. Something about educational reform or new charter policy, I wasn't listening. But now he was in my shop, walking toward me like he owned the damn place. Hey, you James Langley? Depends. You the guy picking up a storage unit or trying to sell me a timeshare? He laughed, all easy confidence, like he was used to getting smiles in return. Neither. I got your name from a friend of mine who said you do great work. I've got a garage that's an absolute disaster and figured it was time to get serious about organizing it. I nodded, still sizing him up. Who's the friend? He hesitated just long enough for my gut to kick in. Mary. Mary Langley. She mentioned you were her husband. And there it was. Not the confession. Not the smoking gun. Just the simple truth in plain sight. The kind of truth that sits down and lights a cigarette while you're still figuring out what the hell just happened. I kept my face still. Years of dealing with demanding clients taught me that. Oh yeah, I said casually. That's the wife. Small world, huh? He grinned. Yeah, we met through the district's leadership program. She's sharp. Super passionate about early education. He was nervous. Too eager to compliment her. Too polished for someone just dropping by for garage advice. He walked around the shop slowly, hands in his pockets, like he was trying to make conversation instead of actually looking at anything. I started asking questions. Not about the cabinets. About him. So what is it you do exactly? Mary mentioned something about policy. Yeah, I consult for a few school districts. Basically help with restructuring, budgets, modern curriculum stuff. I bounce between Nashville, Raleigh, Atlanta, a lot of flying. Long hours. Busy guy. He smiled again, this time with a little too much pride. You could say that. Married. Another hesitation. Divorced. A while ago. Just me now. Of course. He started describing his garage. I pretended to care, but my mind was already putting puzzle pieces together. His travel. His meetings. The overlap with Mary's sudden schedule changes. The tote bag from a charter summit in Atlanta. The extra trips she'd forgotten to tell me about until the last second. It wasn't paranoia. It was evidence. Stupid, casual, accidental evidence dropped right into my lap. He stayed for maybe 20 minutes. Said he'd call when he was ready to schedule the build. I told him sure. Handed him a card. Wished him luck with the clutter. Then I watched him drive off in a silver BMW with a kid's booster seat in the back. No kids in the car, though. Just him, probably headed to some other woman's garage next. As soon as he was gone, I locked up and sat in my truck. Not angry. Not yet. Just stunned. It was like watching someone steal your wallet in slow motion and realizing too late it was your fault for leaving it on the table. I didn't say anything to Mary that night. I waited. The next day, I went to her home desktop. Mary rarely used it anymore. She did everything on her laptop. But the desktop was synced to our printer, and she'd printed a receipt the week before that she forgot to pick up. I remembered because it jammed up my printer during a job quote. I found it. A boarding pass. Not from a school retreat. Charlotte to Nashville. Return flight under Ryan Ellison. Booked on her Delta profile. Seat 8C. Her favorite aisle seat. The day she told me she was visiting her sister. It was all lining up. And still, I wanted to be wrong. I really did. I sat on it for 2 more days. Didn't confront her. Just kept the evidence to myself and waited for the chance to be sure. And then fate did the final shove. Mary left her iPad in the kitchen while she went to take a call in the backyard. The thing buzzed, low battery, and woke up just long enough to show a calendar notification. Dinner with R at Jeff Ruby's 6:30. That was Saturday. She told me she had a late budget meeting with the district. Jeff Ruby's was a steakhouse. Romantic. Expensive. The kind of place you go to be seen. Or not be seen, depending on how careful you are. I stared at that screen for a full minute. Then I set it down, walked outside, and asked her how the meeting was going. She smiled. Said it was tough, numbers not adding up. The lie slid out of her like butter off toast. I nodded, kissed her forehead, and I knew. Not because of the flight, or the man in my shop, or even the iPad, but because I realized I hadn't looked her in the eyes in 2 weeks. And she hadn't noticed. You know what the final nail was? That Saturday morning, I saw her getting ready in the mirror. She was humming. She hadn't hummed in months. Not for me. Not at home. Not during any of the so-called meetings. She was humming for him. I sat in my truck that night and drove to the parking lot across from Jeff Ruby's. Didn't go in. Just watched from the lot. Watched her walk in wearing the earrings I gave her on our anniversary. The same ones she said she couldn't find last month. He showed up 10 minutes later. Kissed her hand. Sat down. I didn't need to hear anything. Didn't need a photo. I didn't even take one. I just sat there. And I smiled. Because now I had everything I needed. Not to break down. To break even. And Mary? She had no idea the game had just changed. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't march into Jeff Ruby's and drag her out by the elbow like some kind of tragic soap opera husband. No shouting in public. No scenes. That's what she'd expect. Or maybe even want. A chance to cry and flip the script. Turn me into the overreacting man with trust issues. No thanks. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it my way. Calculated. Composed. Surgical. So I waited. The next day was Sunday. Church, groceries, laundry, the usual, were a normal couple routine. Mary was glowing. She had that post-fling pep in her step. Kept brushing my arm, laughing a little too easily, complimenting the eggs I made like she just remembered I existed. I played along. Why wouldn't I? It's easier to let a liar dig their own grave when they think they're still on solid ground. We were folding towels when I decided to strike the first note. Casual. Offhand. Like I wasn't paying much attention. You know who stopped by the shop last week? Ryan Ellison. Her hand stilled. Just for a second. Then kept folding. Oh, that's random. What for? Said he was looking for garage cabinets. Mentioned he knew you. Oh, yeah. I think I may have mentioned your business at the Leadership Summit in Asheville. Small world, huh? She didn't look up. She said it while tucking a washcloth into a perfect square like we were on the damn Navy. Makes sense, I said. Seemed like a nice guy. Friendly. Polished. That was the end of it, or so she thought. Over the next week, I made a few more careful cuts. Nothing obvious. Just enough to see if she'd flinch. One night, I asked if she'd want to go away together for a weekend. She said she was too swamped with work. I asked where she wanted to go for our anniversary next month. She blinked and said, "Wait, our anniversary's next month?" We'd been married 10 years. The date hadn't changed. Still, I waited. Because the confrontation wasn't going to be a blow-up. It was going to be a mirror. And the mirror came Thursday night in the form of a very specific folder. See, Mary's not tech-savvy. She uses the same password for everything, and I'm not in the habit of snooping. But at some point, you stop calling it snooping and start calling it survival. I didn't need her texts or DMs. That would have been too easy. Instead, I looked into something better. Our shared Dropbox. Back when she was doing her master's, she'd use it to back up lesson plans and work projects. She forgot we still shared access. And right there, in a folder marked Parent Engagement Materials, were 3 things. A PDF of their Charlotte hotel booking. A zip file of photos, her and Ryan on what was clearly a rooftop bar, arm in arm. A voice memo, titled My Heart.mp4. I listened. Not because I enjoy pain, because I needed to know how deep it went. Her voice. Breathless. Giddy. I never thought I'd feel this alive again. James is. He's nice. He's just not you. That was it. That was the thesis statement of her betrayal. Like I was a warmed-over casserole she kept around for rainy days. The next morning, I printed everything. Not to throw it in her face. To build the stage. Friday night. She got home around 6, set her bag down, kicked off her shoes, and said she was going to take a shower. Perfect. I had already set the table. Wine poured. Steaks cooked. Candle lit. Yes, I made dinner. Because when you want to gut someone emotionally, you don't do it with yelling. You do it by giving them the exact evening they would never expect. Oh, she said, blinking. What's the occasion? Just wanted to do something nice, I said. Feels like we haven't really had a night like this in a while. Her face flickered. Guilt, maybe. Or confusion. Probably both. Halfway through the meal, she started to relax. I've been meaning to tell you, she said, twirling her wine. There's a conference next weekend in Raleigh. I might have to go. It's last minute. I smiled. Is Ryan going? There it was. That sharp inhale. The way her hand paused midair. She covered it well, but I knew the signs. Oh. I think he might be presenting? Not sure. I nodded. Yeah. He mentioned something about that when he was in the shop. She blinked. Wait. He came again. No, I said slowly, setting my fork down. But he left a strong impression. I reached under the table, grabbed the manila folder, and slid it across. This is for you. She opened it, fingers trembling just slightly. Saw the booking, the photos, the transcript I'd typed from the voice memo. The silence was delicious. She didn't cry. She didn't deny. She just stared at it like it was in another language. When she finally looked up, her mouth opened, then closed. No words. So I spoke for her. You didn't forget our anniversary. You just didn't plan to still be married by then. Still, no response. I stood, pushed my chair in, gathered the dishes like it was any other night. I'll be staying at the cabin for a few days. Don't worry, I'm not taking anything. Not yet. I just figured you'd need some space. She finally spoke. Quiet. James, wait. It's not what you think. That one got a laugh out of me. Mary, it's exactly what I think. And worse, it's exactly what you hoped I'd never find out. But I wasn't planning to leave you like this. Oh, I know. You were gonna do it the smart way. The slow way. Drip by drip. So when you finally did leave, I'd be too numb to fight back. That's the thing about smart people like you and Ryan. You think if you do it methodically, it doesn't count as betrayal. I walked to the door. Grabbed my keys. You wanted to feel alive? Congrats. You killed something to get there. I left her sitting at the table. Still not crying. Because Mary doesn't cry when she's guilty. She plans. That's what she was doing even then. Plotting her next move. But what she didn't know was. So was I. And the difference? I had all the pieces. She just had a guilty conscience. And when I came back, she learned exactly what it feels like to be betrayed with precision. I spent the weekend at my cousin Ray's cabin, 2 hours outside town. No cell signal, no distractions, just silence, sweat, and strategy. Ray's a mechanic, divorced 3 times, says people are just engines with opinions. He gave me a beer, asked if Mary had cheated, and when I nodded, he just said, she'll regret it. They always do. What's your play? I told him. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to expose her in some dramatic, social media meltdown. No. What I was going to do was more painful. Something she'd never see coming. I was going to let her keep the house. That's right. The place we bought together. The one I spent 6 years remodeling, floor by floor, tile by tile. The kitchen she said she wanted to host and more but never did. The living room with the fireplace I built myself. The garage cabinets I installed with my own hands. All of it. She could have it. Because once she realized what came with it, it'd feel more like a prison than a prize. Let me explain. Mary doesn't know anything about bills. Not really. She teaches kindergarten. Sweet job, decent pay. But I've always handled the finances, not because she couldn't, but because she never cared to. She had her little teacher's union pension and a checking account she barely looked at. The rest, mortgage, utilities, taxes, insurance, I managed. And over the years, I kept records. Organized, color-coded, itemized. And Mary? She signed her name to every account I set up. Her name's on the mortgage. Her name's on the property taxes, on the HOA agreement, the maintenance contracts, the flood insurance. You name it. So while she played empowered future woman with her motivational notebooks and Pinterest vision boards, I quietly made her the CEO of the entire house. Which is why Monday morning, I went to my bank and started a simple process. Separation of accounts. Moved all my money, all of it, into a new checking and savings under my name only. Canceled the joint credit card and filed a voluntary credit freeze on both our names. Not illegal, just responsible. The bank rep even said, smart move, given the circumstances. Then I called the electric company, the water department, the gas utility, the garbage collector, and let them know I'd be taking my name off those accounts. Gave them Mary's contact information instead. I wasn't dodging the bills. I just let them know I no longer resided at that address. And then I waited. Sure enough, Tuesday morning, 9:12 a.m., I got a call from Mary. Why is the internet off? She asked, annoyed, like a customer talking to Comcast support. I canceled it, I said. I don't live there anymore. Didn't seem fair to keep paying for your streaming. Dead silence. You canceled everything? No. I transferred responsibility. Everything's in your name now. Congrats. You're the independent woman you always told your Instagram followers you were. She didn't like that. She started talking fast about timing, about her district work, about how it wasn't the right time to be dealing with all this. I listened patiently, then said, Mary, you got the house. Isn't that what you wanted? She hung up. 2 hours later, I got a call from our mutual friend Becky. The one Mary confided in way too much, assuming I'd never catch on. Becky didn't say much, just that Mary was freaking out and that she didn't think I'd go this far. Far? I hadn't even gotten started. Next, I called her school district. Not to ruin her career. I'm not that guy. I just requested the removal of my name from the emergency contact list she'd left me on. That's it. One polite email. Because if Mary wants to be in control now, she gets it across the board. Later that week, I sent her a neat envelope. Inside, a legal notice for voluntary property surrender, basically saying I waived my claim to the house. A spreadsheet of all the monthly expenses, color-coded, with due dates. A printed copy of her voice memo, just in case she forgot who she turned into. She texted that night. One word. Cruel. I replied, accurate. I wasn't done. That Friday, I showed up at the school fundraiser. Not because I wanted to be petty, because I'd been invited 6 months ago to help with the construction booth. I'd build a mini playhouse for the auction, donated in our name. Except this time, I showed up alone. Wore a nice button-down. Said hi to everyone. Charmed the parents. Laughed with the kids. Took photos with the principal. The usual. Mary walked in 20 minutes late, saw me shaking hands with the superintendent, and froze. I didn't go over. I didn't cause a scene. I just raised my cup and a toast across the room. And smiled. She avoided me all night. Left early. Mission accomplished. The real revenge wasn't in humiliating her. That would have been too easy, and frankly, beneath me. The real revenge was in letting her see how effortlessly I carried on without her. No shouting. No pleading. Just execution. That night, I made one final move. I changed my will. Removed her name. Gave everything to my sister and my godson. Even the garage. Especially the garage. Because that's the thing, Mary never got about the life we built. She thought it was hers. That she could gut it, repaint it, swap out the parts and call it growth. But I was the one who built it. And now, she's stuck in the shell of it, holding the pieces. Alone. You want to know the irony? I didn't want any of this. I really didn't. I would have stayed. I would have forgiven. I would have fought. But when someone treats loyalty like a doormat, the best thing you can do is wipe your shoes clean and walk away. Quietly. Without ever looking back. And Mary? She can keep her rooftop drinks, her educational summits, her 8C-aisle seat. Because I'm done building things for people who don't know how to maintain them. 2 weeks after I walked out, Mary called and asked if we could talk. She didn't say what about. She didn't apologize. Just asked if I'd meet her. At first, I didn't answer. Let it sit there in voicemail purgatory like one of those unread texts you hope will disappear if you ignore it long enough. But some part of me, the part that built the playhouse, fixed her flat tire, ironed my shirt for her graduation party, that part wanted closure. Or maybe I just wanted to watch her lie to my face one more time. So I told her to meet me at Mitchell Park. Neutral ground. Public, open, no dramatics. We used to walk there in the early days, back when being together meant sitting on benches and talking about nothing, not watching TV on opposite ends of the couch pretending to listen. She showed up wearing the jacket I bought her last Christmas. Funny how betrayal doesn't stop people from wearing gifts. She looked like someone trying to appear composed, hair done, makeup light, casual clothes that still felt too intentional. I wore jeans and an old Tennessee Titans hoodie, because I wasn't there to perform. "Hey," she said, walking up slowly. "Hey." We sat on a bench near the water. Ducks floated past, oblivious. Two teenagers laughed nearby, and a dad pushed a stroller on the path behind us. Life, doing its thing. Mary broke the silence first. "I know you hate me." I shook my head. "No. If I hated you, I wouldn't be here." She nodded slowly, biting her lip. "Then why are you here?" "Because I want to hear what lie you've prepared." Her face stiffened. "James, I didn't ask you here to lie. That'd be a first." She sighed, looked down at her hands. "I didn't plan for any of this. I didn't start seeing Ryan because I wanted to hurt you. Did you think that line was going to land differently? Did you think I'd nod and say, 'Oh, okay, cool,' as long as it wasn't intentional?" She stopped. I felt invisible, like I was a side character in my own life. "And sleeping with someone else fixed that?" "No," she said. "It just made me feel seen." I stared at her. The woman I'd built 10 years with. The woman who once danced in the kitchen with socks on her hands and kissed me on the nose when she was proud of me. And now here she was, talking about being seen by a man who couldn't even look me in the eye when he walked into my shop. "I saw you," I said. "Every day. Even when you didn't see yourself. I noticed the way you stopped singing in the car. The way your smile got thinner. The way you started dressing like someone who needed to be noticed. I saw all of it. And I never judged you." She blinked hard, like she wasn't expecting that. "You didn't say anything," she whispered. "Because I thought you were going through something. And I figured when you were ready, you'd come to me." "I should have," she said quietly. "But you didn't." "No," she agreed. "I didn't." We sat in silence for a moment. "I don't know who I became," she added. "You became someone else's story. That's the part that stings. Not the intimacy. Not the lies. The fact that you chose to live an entire second life and didn't think I'd notice." She turned to face me, eyes shiny. It didn't feel real. With Ryan, it felt like I was in a different timeline. One where I wasn't married. One where nothing I did had consequences. And now I feel like a fool. "You are." She nodded, accepting it. "I guess I thought you'd scream. Or cry. Or throw things. That's the difference between you and me," I said. "You react. I think." "I didn't mean to throw everything away," she said. "I thought maybe we could still fix some of it." "Fix it?" I let out a short laugh. "Mary, you didn't just break something. You disassembled it and mailed the parts to another address." "I know," she said, quietly. "But I'm sorry. I really am. Sorry's not a refund." She flinched. I leaned back on the bench. "You know what the worst part is? You didn't even choose someone better. Ryan's a cliché. The polished consultant. The thoughtful listener. You traded a life partner for a vacation fling." Her voice cracked. "It wasn't just a fling. Then I hope you're happy." "I'm not." I looked at her. Really looked at her. "You thought I'd fall apart," I said. "That I'd stay home sulking, nursing a bottle of Jack and listening to Springsteen. But I didn't. I built something new. Quietly. Carefully. Like always." She swallowed. "I don't want the house. You'll keep it anyway." "James?" "No." I cut her off. "You're going to keep it. You'll deal with the mortgage, the bills, the HOA notices, the squeaky faucet I used to fix without you asking. You'll wake up every day in a space I built, surrounded by things I touched, and you'll remember exactly who kept it standing all those years." She wiped her eyes. "And when he's gone, and he will be, you'll sit in that living room, and the silence will be yours." "I don't know what I thought would happen today," she whispered. "I do," I said. "You thought I'd leave the door cracked open." Another silence. She asked, "Is there really nothing left?" I looked out at the pond. Ducks still floating. Kids still laughing. World still turning. "There's nothing left," I said. "And that's okay." I stood up. "I'm not angry anymore, Mary. That's your burden now." She stayed on the bench, watching me. "You were a good chapter," I said over my shoulder. "But I'm writing something else now." And with that, I walked away. Not faster. Not slower. Just forward. People assume that when your marriage ends, especially one that falls apart like mine did, you wake up to some dramatic new chapter. Like a TV fade to black followed by a fresh start. New apartment, new haircut, New woman, maybe a dog. But real life? It doesn't move that fast. It creeps. You don't wake up healed. You wake up because the garbage truck is late and your neighbor's sprinkler is spraying your truck again. Life doesn't pause because your heart did. It just keeps on going, dragging you along until one day you realize you're not being dragged anymore. It's been 6 months since I left the bench in Mitchell Park. 6 months of silence, small rebuilds, and unexpected moments of clarity. Let me tell you what happened. I bought a fixer-upper, single-story, 1970s ranch style, with warped floors and a water heater from the Reagan administration. The backyard was more weeds than grass. The first night I slept there, the AC didn't work and I used a space heater that clicked like a Geiger counter. But it was mine. Every wall I painted felt like pulling drywall off my chest. Every cabinet I built felt like proof I still had something to offer. I wasn't doing it to distract myself. I was doing it to make a space I belonged in. Mary never called again. Not once. No midnight. I miss you voicemails. No desperate apologies. She just disappeared from my life, like someone switching off a porch light you didn't realize was ever on. But I heard about her. Small town. People talk. Ryan moved to Boston. Left her with a vague text about changing seasons and needing to realign. Classic consultant garbage. According to Becky, who I bump into at the grocery store more often than I'd like, Mary tried to keep it together. Kept showing up to work, smiling too much, like she was auditioning for stability. Apparently, she took a second job tutoring, started therapy, and stopped posting inspirational quotes on Instagram. Progress, I guess. I'm not bitter. Not anymore. That's the surprising thing. You think the hurt is permanent, that it becomes this echo chamber inside your chest. But eventually, it fades. Slowly, unevenly, but it fades. And in its place, something else grows. Not joy, not right away. Just space. Space to think, to feel, to laugh again without it catching in your throat. I started volunteering local trades program for high school seniors. I teach kids how to use power tools without taking off a finger. They're sharp, too. Funny. A little lost, like I was at 17. But when they listen, man, it feels like you're passing down something that matters. I don't date. Not seriously. Not yet. There was a woman at the hardware store, Sharon. She made a joke about choosing between paint swatches like she was selecting a casket. I laughed harder than I have in a long time. We got coffee once. Talked about growing up with parents who didn't divorce but probably should have. We didn't go out again. Not because it wasn't good. It was. Just not time yet. I'm not trying to fill the space Mary left. I'm trying to understand it. Funny thing is, I kept the garage business running the entire time. Took on more solo work. Built a new client base. Even picked up a contract for the local fire department. People say I seem more focused now. I don't correct them. Because they're right. You want to know the moment I knew I was done hurting? It was a Tuesday. Early morning. I was cutting a piece of oak, and the blade jammed. Would have been a throw the tools kind of moment 6 months ago. But instead, I just laughed. Laughed because I realized I wasn't cutting wood for a woman who'd cheat, or a life I was pretending to enjoy. I was building something because I wanted to. That kind of freedom? That's gold. A few weeks ago, I drove past our old house. Just once. Out of curiosity. Mary had redone the landscaping. Pulled out the jasmine I planted. Replaced it with something boxy and impersonal. The kind of shrubs you buy when you're trying to make a place look good in photos but don't care what it smells like in the spring. There was a for sale sign out front. I didn't stop. Didn't feel the need to. Because that house wasn't mine anymore. Never really was. I built the foundation, sure, but she picked the floor plan. And when it burned, I didn't salvage the blueprints. I walked away and found new ground. Sometimes I get asked what I'd say to her now if we ever met again. At a wedding, maybe. Or a funeral. Some neutral place where eye contact is mandatory but feelings are optional. And I think I'd say this. Thanks. Not sarcastic. Not bitter. Just honest. Thanks for showing me exactly what happens when someone stops choosing you. Because I stopped choosing myself a long time ago. And I needed a wake-up call. Even if it came in the form of betrayal wrapped in perfume and PTA meetings. And to anyone reading this or watching this, if some YouTube channel decides to dramatize my life, here's what I'll leave you with. When someone cheats on you, they don't just break your trust. They try to rewrite your story. Try to make you believe you were never enough. That you were too quiet. Too predictable. Too nice. But that's the lie. The truth? They cheated because they were looking for chaos, and you gave them peace. They walked out because they needed drama, and you gave them stability. And once they're gone, you get your peace back, and you guard it like hell. So here I am, 42, divorced, no kids, living in a fixer-upper with a leaky kitchen faucet and a power drill that won't die. And you know what? I'm good. I'm not healing anymore. I'm healed. And I didn't need her to say sorry for it to happen. I just needed to finally listen to the one voice I'd been ignoring for years. My own. Subscribe to the channel